And welcome into Hoopsville, everybody. We are live at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia for the ODAC Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament. I am your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting live from the Civic Center as we get ready for the men's side of things as a basketball goes flying right over my shoulder. It's all about being here at courtside. It's somewhere around here. We'll get it later. We'd love to have you guys join us and certainly interact with us. If you are watching this on the archive, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to do that. In the meantime, lots to talk about on this Friday as we do get ready for the men's quarterfinals here. Teams are warming up behind us, though one team is just leaving. We'll have another team rolling in here shortly. We're not giving anything away from our camera angle, but you will see players behind us as we're here at the Civic Center. Certainly lots to talk about throughout the day here. We've already had bubbles bursting for many teams as some of the maybe locks or pretty much locks to make the NCAA tournament have lost. One of those would be Wesley last night. They lost to Christopher Newport in the semifinals of the Capital Athletic Conference. That loss could set up a scenario where three teams get in from the CAC. The problem is Mary Washington is in a tenuous location in the regional rankings. The advantage is some teams ahead of Mary Washington have lost, like a Messiah may fall behind Mary Washington, and Mary Washington could be at the table before Messiah. I think Messiah is in deep trouble in the Mid-Atlantic. They not self-destructed, but certainly had a rough go of it the last few weeks. And I don't think, off the top of my head, that I can see Messiah getting into the tournament ahead of Mary Washington. Granted, lots can change and things can be different, but you're already starting to see a lot of these bubbles burst. Mount Union, for example, losing last night in the semifinals. The OAC, chaos in general, losing in the semifinals. They are probably out. I don't see how Mount Union or others can get into the NCAA tournament right now, considering where they were in the regional rankings and who is ahead of them and who will most likely get Pool C bids ahead of them, and plus their data regarding the national scope of things. So already we're seeing teams lose. We're focusing on the men, but we should point out, for example, bubbles bursting in the or semi-bursting, maybe bursting on the women's side, because Superior went and handed one to Whitewater last night in women's basketball. Whitewater taking the loss in the semifinals. Whitewater and Oshkosh were probably in on the women's side no matter what, but if Superior wins the conference title, now you got three WIACs in, and there is some bubbles bursting somewhere in the country. So that is what it's all about. At this time of year, looking at who's in good position and who could be in trouble, and then teams that are going to lose out as a result of it. We will actually talk to one coach today about what he thinks his chances are. Bethany was playing really good basketball, but loses in the quarterfinals of their conference tournament. They could be out of the NCAA tournament, especially thanks to teams like Wesley losing as well, who will gobble up an at-large bid that maybe they would have gotten the AQ on anyway. So Bethany's men's basketball coach, Andrew Sachs, will be joining us later here on Hoopsville. We have a lot of guests to join us. Actually, Kerry Harvey-Cutter. I'm going to call him the Dean of Salem, only because he's right off my camera and I know he can hear me. He will be joining us here on the show to talk about not only the ODAC tournament, the upcoming men's basketball tournament as well, and everything going on here. We're going to give Kerry the opportunity to plug you to make sure you come here to Salem. We'll also talk to Paige Moyer, Roanoke men's basketball coach. They are not participating today as they lost in the first round of the ODAC tournament, but we will get him to handicap what we may see today. On top of the fact he will be the new NABC president. What's the influence a D3 coach may have on the board at the National Association of Basketball Coaches? We'll talk to Paige about that. Randolph-Macon is the #1 seed and number 12 in the country here in the men's basketball tournament in the ODAC, and so Randolph-Macon's men's basketball coach Nathan Davis will join us to talk about his team's chances. They actually play their rival Hampden-Sydney in the first game today at 1 o'clock. A couple notes about that. Randolph-Macon pretty much handed it to Hampden-Sydney not that long ago at their place in Ashland. That's the kind of game that Hampden-Sydney is just gnawing at and would love to get another shot at the Yellow Jackets. That makes it for a tricky quarterfinal game at 1 o'clock today. The other note, just in case you're curious, if you'd like to watch the game on ODAC.tv, yours truly will be on the call. Hobart, then we'll go national. St. Thomas's men's basketball coach John Taro will join us talk about his Tommies. The fact that they got swept for the second time in 3 years by the Johnnies, and if they are in any good position he feels of making the NCAA tournament, if they do not win the MIAC, remember St. Olaf's still alive in that conference tournament as well. Hobart's men's basketball coach Mike Neer will join us. We'll talk to him about maybe the weakness of the East. You'll notice that on the top of the regional rankings almost every week has been 3 SUNYAC teams. He's sitting just below them. Does he feel like he can get into the Pool C mix at all should they not win their conference tournament? Mike Neer will join us. And again, as we mentioned, Bethany's men's basketball coach, Andrew Sachs. If you'd like to interact with us, we'd certainly love to hear from you. You can email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/hoopsville. And, of course, you can also join us on Twitter at d3hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. That's how you can interact with us throughout the show. Certainly, one of the keys that we should also point out is games get played. I mean, the bulk of games are going to be today and tomorrow and then a few on Sunday. They're going to change the dynamic and the landscape of what the committees have to look at. Not only the regional committees who have to arrange their teams accordingly, but then the national committee who has to make any adjustments to those initial final rankings, which we don't see, and then make adjustments again once the new results versus regionally ranked opponent data comes in. How games play out, who wins and who loses, can make for a really long night on Sunday for the National Committee. As a result, here in Roanoke, or I should say in Salem at the Civic Center, Jeff Burns, who's the athletics director for Randolph-Macon, is here. We will talk to him. He is the committee chair for the South Region and thus on the National Committee. We will talk to him not on air today here, but we will talk to him separately and post our interview and get his insight on the decisions that the National Committee is making. We may not be able to get into a lot of specifics because a lot of things can change, but this might be a great opportunity for everybody to hear from a committee member who's going to make a lot of tough decisions from his point of view just days before we have these selections made. And then again, a reminder, we will actually talk to the committee chair on Monday, Steve Ulrich from the Centennial Conference. Couple quick other notes I wanted to catch you up on. We will have a special show on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It will start, we always say we'd like to go until 10. We sometimes go into overtime. We will talk to teams who are on the bubble. We will talk to teams who may be surprisingly into the NCAA tournament, maybe with upsets. We will talk to teams throughout the country, engage what they think, and then we'll take your questions and try and prognosticate, as it were, who may be where, who may be out, what tournaments are, where brackets could take place. Again, I told you this yesterday, I'll say it again. Colorado College is a major key factor in the tournament at this point in time. Why? Because if Colorado College gets in, that means only one of the Texas team probably gets in. Texas Dallas, if they lose their conference tournament, is in trouble of not making the NCAA tournament. That means a Texas team, a Colorado team. Let's just say Whitworth wins their conference. There's one team from the Northwest and a team from the SCAC. Those are 4 teams who are 500 miles from nobody. They're going to have to fly these teams. And most likely to reduce the number of flights in the second weekend, they may fly them all together and have them play in a pod together in the first weekend. The key there, Whitworth and Colorado College, remember, played twice already this season, about 10 days apart at the beginning of the year. So you can almost assume right now that Whitworth and Colorado College will be a second-round game if that scenario takes place, because the NCAA tournament committee is not going to want that to be a first-round game, which means you're going to get Colorado College versus, say, the SCIAC, most likely, and then Texas Dallas, let's say, against Whitworth. That's just a guess, but that one's the key, because if Colorado College doesn't make the NCAA tournament, then you have 2 Texas teams and everything changes. How are they going to put in a bye? Who gets the byes? I think everything changes at that point in time. So Colorado College on the men's side, they're your biggest key in the NCAA tournament. Certainly there's some other keys out there as well, but I think they're the big one. Actually, another one we'll talk to Randolph-Macon or Paige Moyer maybe about. Let's just say Virginia Wesleyan goes on to win the ODAC tournament and Randolph-Macon finishes runner-up. Their data becomes very similar. Does Randolph-Macon fall from 1 and Virginia Wesleyan jump from 3? That your hosting scenarios, because Randolph-Macon's in position to host right now, changes. The kicker to that whole thing is geography. You can't get a lot of teams at Virginia Wesleyan that you can be creative with, except Randolph-Macon's in one of those perfect locations. You can bring a team in from the Great Lakes and other locations, including the Northeast. We'll see what happens. That's another kind of matchup here in Salem that you should keep an eye on. What does Virginia Wesleyan do throughout the tournament? What does Randolph-Macon do? How does that position? I think the ODAC only gets 2 teams right now. It's Virginia Wesleyan and Randolph-Macon. But if there's an upset, it's got to be the right upset. A Lots to play there and lots to figure out. We'll see what's going on. Another team that's come up in conversation recently is Emory. We talked to their men's basketball coach just the other day, as you remember. Their SOS certainly makes them look really strong. 601, 603, somewhere in that area off the top of my head. Really looks strong to be a Pool C contender since they will finish second in the UAA behind Washington University out of St. Louis. They will argumentatively be 18-7 should they win tomorrow at Rochester, something their senior class has not done in their career at Rochester. But as one committee member pointed out to me, they may have an okay results versus regionally ranked opponents, but do they have any quality wins? Their wins are against a low-ranked Oglethorpe, against a low-ranked Chicago. They have a couple games against Wash U, certainly, but they didn't win either of those games. They actually have a loss against Chicago. Does Emory really have the kind of quality wins in that results versus regionally ranked opponents that we're looking for? And please remember, it's results versus regionally ranked opponents. Results doesn't mean win and loss. It does not mean it does. They can look at it and say at least they played a team. They can also look at it and go, well, they lost by 20. No one said they can't look at the point spread. So lots of things to keep in mind as we get closer and closer to Sunday, when Selection Sunday will take place. Of course, Monday the brackets come out. 12:30 apparently will be the announcement from the NCAA on the men's side of things. Women apparently at 2:30. Hoopsville will be on the air approximately 3. We're still working on the timing. 3:30 or so on Monday to talk about everybody who's in, those who missed out, and those who are hosting, and then again talk to both committee chairs as well. So there you go. That's our Hoopsville. We are here live at the Salem Civic Center, getting ready. One of the teams warming up right now, it is Guilford. As Coach Tom Balumbo is out there at center court. I know you can't see a lot, and that's by design. It's because we don't want anybody scouting their walkthrough. That wouldn't be fair, but we did want a nice background for the show. We will be coming up here shortly. Again, Kerry Harvey-Carter, Paige Moyer, and Randolph-Macon's Nathan Davis will give you the ODAC side of this Hoopsville on the road, and then we'll go national. St. Thomas's John Tower, Hobart's Mike Neer, and Bethany's Andrew Sachs will join us here in Hoopsville. A reminder how you can interact with us online via Twitter at D3Hoopsville, or use the hashtag Hoopsville. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. And of course, you can join us on the air, or on an email, I should say, Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. We're going to take a quick break, which if we're in our studio, you get some cool NCAA PSA. We get some other fun things. But today, we'll just give you a nice beauty shot of the Salem Civic Center. When we come back, our good friend Kerry Harvey-Cutter from Salem will be joining us to talk about the ODAC tournament. And, of course, the NCAA tournament coming up in, what is it, 3-4 weeks here? 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks. We'll be talking about who's in the Final Four here in Salem. We'll talk to Kerry Harvey-Cutter coming up right here. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches on the road, thanks to the ODAC, and simulcast today, not only on our channel on YouTube, but on ODAC.tv. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting live from the Salem Civic Center here in Salem, Virginia for the ODAC tournament. Men's today, it's quarterfinal action. I'm joined by, I'm calling you the Dean of Salem from now on. It's either that or Godfather. Which would you like?
Director of Tourism.
Director of Tourism? Yeah, that just doesn't make, that's just too much fun. I'm just going to do this real quick. There we go. Kerry Harvey-Cutter joining us here on Hoopsville. That's the key, I think, to many people who may know you. You have actually changed job titles, though. In some ways, I don't think you've necessarily changed your job. You've left being basically in charge of operations here at the Salem Civic Center to be in charge of tourism for the city of Salem, Virginia. But I know there's some roles I no longer call on you for. I call on your good associates here at
John Saunders.
John Saunders, right here at the stadium. But on the flip side of that, you're still here. You still got a radio. You still patrol and make sure everything works right.
I do, and last night I was in charge. That was the most fun. We had the men's banquet for ODAC, and Brad always introduces me now as the new director of tourism, which surprises most everybody. And I said, guys, you know, I may be the director of tourism. I've still got a key. I've still got an office. I get paid something all of y'all want to do in a year or two, and tonight I'm in charge. It's fun. It's a little change. A normal work week now for me is 30 hours, and it gets away from the 50 and 60.
Yeah.
I still have responsibility for all the NCAA events. I'm still the tournament director for basketball, just like I've been every year we've had men's hoops here. I'm a Rotarian, so I'm here for ODAC the whole weekend, and so I'm taking a little bit larger load, and I'll be the tournament director next weekend for state high school semifinals, and that's with the high school league. So I'm still doing the fun things, the NCAA events, the solicitation of sales for the building, and for the community, working with tourism through the Convention Bureau and things like that. And I'm still in charge of the Salem Fair. So I have still significant duties, but I don't deal with the day-to-day operations and personnel issues and budgets and those kind of things.
You just spend the money. You don't need to worry about the money.
Yeah, I just don't have as much money to spend.
Yeah, that's true. I think what's interesting is people don't maybe appreciate the role that Salem has on these events. So everybody looks at this event. Obviously, it's the ODAC tournament, and so JJ, Brad, Molly do a great job putting that on. The NCAA tournament comes here. ODAC is certainly on that title as well, as they have to be. But I don't think people realize it, and it's something even I'm still fully appreciating. This tournament here that we're here for doesn't exist unless the Salem Rotary Club and the Salem Civic Center came on board in the first place back in the 90s. So and thus, as a result, you don't get the NCAA tournament games if the city of Salem and the Civic Center and the Rotary Club aren't on board.
We use this event to leverage to get the men's basketball championship. Bob Johnson, the late coach at Emory and Henry here in Virginia, was on the men's national committee. He told us what we needed to do to make some changes and how to structure our bid, and then we went after it, and we were fortunate enough to get it, and we've kept it now a number of years.
And that's the key. Now you've got 4 more years tacked on to this year. The NCAA changed its bidding process. It certainly looked interesting because you had some really good bids against you. In the Stag Bowl, you had one out of Florida, one out of Texas. In men's basketball, you had Calvin sitting there looming.
Great facility.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, great facility.
Coach on the national committee.
And coach on the national committee, though I did hear he thus could not participate in those conversations.
But it still makes I will say he's a very honest and fair person.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I just mean for anybody out there going, oh, my gosh, he was on the committee, just slow down. But yes, the DeVos Center is a wonderful facility. Nothing against the Salem Civic Center. Of course, they have the same challenges you guys have. So I'm sure, and I know I talked to you before the decisions were released in December, there were some nerves. Oh,
we were very nervous about men's basketball, about the Stag Bowl, and it's good to be that way. The date, I don't think will ever come that you just automatically think you're going to get it, and I would hope it would not. We have to prove ourselves. But using a 4-year commitment now is so much better because at least it's not you're proving yourself this year and you're bidding next year. It's not a constant like it used to be with the NCAA.
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of an every 2-year thing, just after you get the bid, you got to start considering about the next one. You've got 4 years. And, of course, the NCAA changed it across the board, everybody. That's why the women have 1 year this year at Stevens Point. They wanted to get everybody on the same page. They wanted to make this a little more transparent. They make it a little bit bigger deal, as it were. They actually came out with videos as to where everybody would be hosted. Yeah,
they did a really good job.
Yeah, they did.
And we did not get advance notice.
Which is rare. I know usually
I've got a pretty good idea before it came out.
I think I was talking to you the day before.
You were.
I've got no idea.
No, and we looked at the videos just like everybody else, and I thought they did a nice job with it. I think it caught some people in the preliminary rounds for predetermined sites off guard, though.
Yes.
They've had to go back and look at some of those. They didn't get 4 years on some things.
This ODAC tournament being here year after year after year, it becomes almost second nature for you guys.
It does.
But I know you guys are always itching to do something new.
Well, we try. You can look at the setup. The setup is very similar to what we have for the NCAA, and we'll run a lot of things and try them out to see if they work at this tournament, to see if it makes sense for the Division III championship. The best thing about hosting ODAC is the money that the Rotary Club's been able to give away. They're closing in on $500,000 they've been able to give away from this tournament, and it goes to people that really need the money. It doesn't go, to the Rotary Club. It goes to the food pantries and the regional food bank and children's health partnerships and things like that. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, and that's what we're charged to do, and that's what the Rotary Club's been doing with this money.
You guys maybe I'm giving too much credit, but from my point of view, it seems that this group, what you've done with the ODAC tournament, thus the community service angle, what you've then turned around and done on the national scope with the Final Four in the community service angle, that seems to be what has become a catalyst across the board in Division III at all of its championships.
It really is.
I'm seeing it now at every single one of them, and you can almost make a direct connection or a step-through connection right back to Salem.
You do, and we started something back, 22 years now, I guess, with the Stag Bowl coming up. We did student-athlete mementos. We got a deal with the Nike people and got some bags and filled them with gear and stuff to give to the student-athletes. And we did that for probably 2 or 3 years in all the championships. We did softball the next year. We gave them something. And now the NCAA provides a student-athlete memento in every division, 1, 2, and 3. So that's something that began here. The community service that we do, and we've broadened that. We've done elementary schools. We've done the Animal Control Center for Salem. In fact, one of the coaches one year adopted a dog and took it back to New Jersey. We've worked at food banks. Now, through the relationship that Division III has with Special Olympics, last year at the Stag Bowl, one of the teams went to Hope Tree Family Services. They have a component that participates in Special Olympics. They went up there. This year at Men's Hoops, we'll be sending a team to Hope Tree and then using 3 of our 4 elementary schools in the city for their other visits.
And I always hear from the teams, that ends up being the most rewarding part of their trip.
It is.
Staying in the Hotel Roanoke, lovely experience for anybody who gets to stay at the Hotel Roanoke. Being here and being treated like gold, for lack of a better description, always a wonderful experience. Walking away from the Walnut and Browns, certainly great. But it's hard to find a coach or a player who doesn't talk about the community service.
It does, and it's the experience. We've crowned over 70 national championships, so we say 70 national champions. But you look at basketball, there are 4 teams. You look at softball, there's 8 teams. Football, there's 2. We've seen a lot more teams that have not become a national championship that came to Salem than the national champion. And we've always tried, since day one, under the direction of our then Mayor Jim Talaferro and Moose Malmquist, who was the chair of the first Stag Bowl committee, said he wanted to be the best championship these kids have ever been involved in. And as long as we keep it focused on the kids, on the student athletes, to understand that the championship's about them. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about D3 hoops. It's not about ODAC. It's not about Salem. It's about those young men and women that are playing the game. And as long as we keep focused on that and how they can have a great experience, that's what it's about.
I'd love to ask you this, because the one knock Salem has is location. For a lot of teams, especially when it comes to Stag Bowl, you might be coming from afar. Getting here is a challenge. Let's be honest. I mean, everyone knows it. It's not.
If you're flying.
If you're flying. If you're driving from Baltimore, it's a lovely 4-hour drive.
On the reverse side of it, we're within the 500-mile bus limit of the NCAA for a lot of schools.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right. But I'm just curious, do you guys try and work with the airport? Do you try and call the airlines and go, listen, help us out a little bit?
We do. Very honestly, it's very difficult. Sure. And the reason it's difficult is because we can talk to them, we can work with them, but they want to know a month out, at the minimum, setting schedules. I can't tell a month out that the team is coming from Texas or Wisconsin or wherever.
You can just
and they bus.
I know.
Or they drive, so there's no, it doesn't affect that one. If you're coming on Allegiant Air from the 2 cities in Florida, it's a great deal. It's $59, $89. But there aren't many Division III schools in St. Petersburg or in Sanford, Florida.
I don't think there are any. It's interesting to see the dynamics. If anybody has not had a chance to come to Salem Civic Center and see a game, I certainly highly encourage it. How would you, now especially in your tourism role, I'm fascinated about this, how would you plug coming to Salem for the Final Four?
Well, I think there's a lot of things to do. You look at what the basketball. You come for the basketball because you're a basketball fan. You want to get here, but you realize we're 40 minutes from Virginia Tech, and all that Virginia Tech has to offer. We're 45 minutes from Lexington, which is VMI, Washington Lee, home of Stonewall Jackson. Natural Bridge is 35 minutes away. Booker T. Washington Monument in Franklin County is about 40 minutes away. If the weather's pretty, Smith Mountain Lake and Great Bass Fishing is close by. One of the world's largest man-made stars in the city of Roanoke, Mill Mountain. You can go up there. Yeah. We're the largest city on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We have more restaurants per capita than most any city in our country. They're really good restaurants. I mean, everybody has the chain restaurants. We have some really good local restaurants. Yes. We've got a world-class hotel in the Doubletree Hotel Roanoke. The Sheraton just went through a $13 billion expansion, so their rooms are no slouch. So, we've got really good properties. Our rates are normally reasonable. And about the tourism aspect, in 2 years, Amtrak starts coming here. You can go from Boston to Roanoke.
Oh, I might try that one day. That'd be
That's
fun.
how I went to Amherst last year. I took the train from Lynchburg up to Hartford and then drove across.
Outstanding. I might actually try that one year if I've got the extra time. And, of course, I should mention the All-Star Game coming here. That adds a few extra student athletes who get to enjoy
and it's fun. We work very closely with the NABC and the Reese's All-Star Game. I help them out, and I handle the travel arrangements for the student athletes that have to fly in. Then we charge it back, of course, to the NABC, and they pay the bill. It adds something else to the game. Nobody wanted to play a consolation game. Once they started the consolation game, they kicked into gear, and you want to win that last game, however it is.
One game in particular that didn't go so well.
There was one.
Was a catalyst.
Yes, it was, and so it's worked out very nicely. The NABC pays the bill, and I mean that's great. Having Paige coming in as the president is wonderful. Paige has been an integral part of the championship since we've had it day one. ODAC, the city of Salem, we do a lot of stuff. When we first looked at this game, it was at Buff State. You and I talked about this a little bit. Fred Hartwick was the AD, and he said, Kerry, if you could take it a year early, we'd love to give it to you because it's more than we can handle on a college campus. When you deal with, 50 or 60 media, you're coordinating the hotels. Hotels now are being changed to Anthony Travel under the new contract with the NCAA. But there's just so much to do behind the scenes. When we're doing the championship this year, we're looking to see what we can maybe tweak it to make it better next year. That we'll send people to each of the 4 sectional sites that'll be there with tickets to explain hotels. And this year we're going to try to assign each team a hotel, so they have a headquarters hotel out near the team headquarters. So we're trying to do that so they can get their fans in one place. Things of that nature. It is something different.
Nice touch. And by the way, I just drew a blank. There was something. Oh, you guys always trying to celebrate them too with the championships dinner, both of them. But also the Ghilardi Trophy and the Jostens Award.
Yes.
You guys try and make a big deal out of them.
We do.
If you already know who the winner is on the Jostin side.
Yes, but it's a Rotary Club function. It started with the Rotary Club. They saw the Ghilardi working with Jostens. The Rotary Club took it over. The Rotary Club buys into it in that there's a committee of Rotarians that gets all the applications, and they're numerous. And to read through I'm on the committee, and it's time consuming.
Yeah, I get just 10 for the Jostens. That's time consuming.
Yeah, you get 10, and we get 25 and 30. Right. And so you look at it and go through everything. And then you cut it down, and so you can get it to a 10 list that you get to. And we do a big deal with that. It's a great event. The Ghilardi has gotten even better now that we bring in the top 4. Yeah, and nobody knows. Well, a couple of us know because they have to send me a plate to put on the trophy. But we don't put it on until right. There's Chris or somebody will slip in there right before it's awarded and after the interviews.
3 or 4 people I know have that information before the show starts. Well, Kerry, thanks so much. We heard the horn. I'm going to use that as our guide.
It is.
Apparently, it was our longhorn.
It was.
But thanks so much for coming on. As always, I give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those?
Well, it's just great. I think they like to play the horn while we're over here.
Our music.
Yes, it is. I think the key to the fact is that we love hosting championships. We love working with the student athletes. It's a great environment. It's a wonderful game. The championship game, the semifinals leading into it. It's just a great way to expose Division III athletics, the true student athletes in the NCAA.
Well said, sir. Congratulations on another 4 years here. in Salem. Congratulations on the 30-hour week.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to ODAC.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can make this an annual trip. We'd love to have you down every year.
It was wonderful. I enjoy the extra press row, by the way.
It's worked out nicely.
It's very nice. He's Harvey Cutter. I'm Dave McHugh. Coming up here on Hoopsville, we'll talk to Paige Moyer. We'll get his idea on what might happen today. We'll also pick his brain about what's going to be like to be the president of the NABC board. That should be fun.
Oh, that should be very fun. I babysat Paige when he was a kid.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, that should work.
This is national TV.
I know.
Yeah. He also dated you.
I'm old.
Yeah. Again, Harvey Cutter, I'm Dave McHugh. We'll be right back with Paige Moyer from Roanoke. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Simulcast not only here on YouTube, as we always do it, but also on ODAC.tv. And welcome back to the ODAC. Let's see, ODAC men's basketball tournament today, quarterfinals. We're at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. I'm Dave McHugh. He's Paige Moyer from Roanoke. I think we got it all covered. You're watching Hoopsville Special Edition here on Friday. It is Friday morning everywhere right now for a little longer. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville, or via email, hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. If you didn't get all that, we'll quiz you later. Paige Moyer joining us again, head coach from Roanoke. First and foremost, I know it's killing you that you're not actually playing here today.
Yeah, you know, we finished the year strong, but not strong enough. We got to the tournament, ran to a buzzsaw in Hampton-Sydney. You know, it's tournament time, so survive and advance or go home. And unfortunately, we're home, but I'm pleased with how we ended the year, and it's going to be a great tournament. I'm actually going to see a little bit of it, but like today, I'm going to some high school games. I need to use this time to recruit. Yes.
Start competing.
Yes, and you're doing another marathon. This is like you doing another marathon. That's why I'm looking at this. I mean, I watched you yesterday, see you over here all day today, so at least that marathon sets you up. You're prepped. You're prepped for this.
Yeah, it's not the 12 and a half hours nonstop that we did. And by the way, I think we might do that again. That was fun.
It was neat.
And thanks for coming on that show, by the way, I should point out as well. And thanks to the NABs for their support of this show. Back to quickly, we'll get to a lot of that, but back quickly to the game. You played Hampton-Sydney. They'll take on Randolph-Macon in the 1 o'clock game. Big rivalry game. I'm looking forward to being on the call for that for ODAC.tv. I find it as a dangerous game for Randolph-Macon because they absolutely, forgive the term, spanked Hampton-Sydney at home not that long ago. If anything in a rivalry game, they want blood.
We made the same mistake by beating Hampton-Sydney. It was a close game till the end, but very handily at the end. Hampton-Sydney is the Tigers are a good nickname for them, and they're kind of laying in the bushes. They did not have the year that they thought they would have, or anybody else thought they would have. They've got some talented kids, and you have injuries, you have shots just not going down, your D not being quite as good as you thought it would be. But at some point in time, if you keep striving and working, you might hit a positive and hit the note that needs. And I think we probably helped Hampton-Sydney get back on track. So this will be a tremendous game. I think there couldn't be a better way to start out the ODAC tournament here in the Civic Center than having two teams that have a long dislike and rivalry with each other.
Hate each other.
They respect each other, as we all do, but I mean, they're two schools that this is their rivalry game. They're starting the tournament with it. Hampton-Sydney has the talent to compete with Macon. Macon's had a great year, and this is what tournament time's all about.
You know how the selection process works, or at least for the most part. You certainly understand the scenarios. How dangerous is this if Randolph-Macon loses?
I've got to believe they're in. They've had a fantastic year. And they go, their scheduling really sets them up for the tournament. I think the National Committee is doing a great job of recognizing teams that play good schedules and they're willing to play on the road. That's become a real point of contention for us at the NABC, and we talk about this in our meetings with coaches, that you know, you don't play 18 home games. Try to find good competition. Teams that say, well, we can't, they won't play us because we're good. You can always find tournaments you can play in with other good competition, like the one you run up in Maryland, Stevenson, and you can always get in those if you're a good team. So I think Macon is in good shape. Of course, they want to win the tournament, and you know, winning this tournament gives you possibility of getting a lot of home games, and that's key in the NCAAs, of course. But I think Macon's good, and honestly, I think Virginia Wesleyan's really close to being good. I think they would be on the border if they drop the first one here, but they belong too.
Per that, good segue for me, NABC-ish. There's been a lot of talk about the rankings this year, especially the SOS. And SOS is always every year a question mark. How will it be interpreted? How will it be understood? There's now the facts out there that the math is fudged. Not fudged, a bad term. Has been mistakenly reallocated by the NCAA and how they do the math. That it's almost washing out the weighted measure of playing an away game and playing a home game. And one thing I've heard from a few people is, well, the NABC probably needs to step in at some point here and go, enough's enough. Even if it's not the three guys that are on the board, yourself, Charlie Brock, and Gary Stewart. But it's the core group that we see in Salem all the time and care the most about everything. Have to step in at some point and go, we need to fix this. Not that it's horribly broken. Please don't get me wrong. But there's little problems with it that are cropping up. Is that something that's on your agenda? Is that something you guys are considering? Like, yeah, we need to go to the NCAA and put our foot down a little bit? We
talk about it every year at the National Convention, which this year will be in Dallas. You know, it's part of the Division I Final Four. Glad you got to see that in Atlanta. It's a pretty neat deal. That's something we talk about every single year, is how can we improve access to the tournament and how we do it and the criteria that we use. So that's something that's always, it's not going to be brought up this year that hadn't been brought up last year. We talk about it every single year. And we're fortunate because the people that we deal with, the NCAA, and you know Dan Dutcher, you know Elisa, they're the best. And I think, you know, communicating with them, the athletic directors, and even some of this will get to the presidents, will hopefully help them keep tweaking it and make it. It's never going to be a perfect situation, but we're striving for perfect, and hopefully you reach for the stars and you'll get the moon, and I think we do.
From the NABC point of view, are there any frustrations?
Not really. I think you know, my frustration for years is not getting us to 64, but again, that's okay.
We're on the doorstep.
Apples, oranges, and they want to treat every sport the same. But that doesn't come from the NCAA. That comes from our presence in Division III. But we're very happy where it's gone. We're very happy and excited about the relationship we have with the NCAA and our ability to help with change when we think it's there. We think we are listened to, and we're getting our vote. We're getting our concerns heard, and I think the NCAA has done a tremendous job of getting what the coaches and athletic directors want done at this level. It's a little different animal. It's not Division I. It's not about money, but some very neat things have happened for us, and we think Division III basketball is better than ever.
I certainly agree with that. Come Dallas, you become the president of the NABC, the board. When's the last time a Division III guy was the board director?
Well, Jim Burson. Jim Burson probably 7, 8 years ago. And you know, we go up, and once you get on the board, you kind of work your way to the top. And it's funny, I would have been the president now, but Phil Martelli, we don't like to have back-to-back D2s and D3s. And Larry Gibson from Northeastern State Division II was the president. And between us, we had like Barry Collier and I think Dave Odom. And when those guys retired, got out of coaching, it put me up against Larry. So they moved Phil 1 year ahead of me. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad to have another year on the board. It's been fun, very enjoyable. You know, the NABC is run by the coaches, by our board, but mainly by our executive staff, which is in Kansas City. Jim Haney, Reggie Minton, Troy Hilton, Wade Hageman, Mark Houghton. We got an unbelievable staff that takes care of the day-to-day operations, and they'll do a good job of telling me what to do, and I'll do what I'm told by them. it's a neat thing. Division III hopefully has gotten more in the forefront. I think getting access to having the tournament, the finals in Atlanta, was really a neat thing. It's not going to happen every year, I don't think, but if we're able to do that every 5 to 10 years, that could be a really special event. You just want to make sure one of those years you're in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
well, and you become board member. There are three board members on the entire board. We won't even get into how that's a very small number, but it's you, Charlie, and Gary, as I mentioned. The thing is, and I know this is a concern, that the thing is you become president. When you're done with the presidency, you're done off the board, and you're finished. Yeah. Usually they will replace you with another, in your case, D3 member. But Gary was a quote-unquote added member. Normally there's only 2.
Yeah.
How concerned are you guys that when you come off the board, you're going to have to fight to get another D3 guy back in there to keep it at 3?
No, well, it's supposed to be 2. And we felt so strongly about Gary and Gary and what a good guy he is and what a personality he is. He's back being a head coach. I was close to the end of my time on the board that it would be fantastic to be able to keep Gary on. I think they're going to let us keep a third, get a third person on there when I get out. But once Gary rotates off down the road, then we'll probably go back to 2 unless that changes. And it's the right number for Division III.
Really?
I mean, we're heard. Our Congress is much stronger. Our Congress is a lot stronger than I think the way Division I's done. Division I, the guys on the board, there's so many of them, and really, the board's probably the size it is because of all the extras these guys have to do, the appearances, and that's one reason. And then plus you have passionate people. I mean, it's been really fun to stay connected with guys I knew like Bo Ryan, who have an appreciation for small college, Division II, Division III athletics. Tom Izzo is a Division II player. Phil Martelli played at Wider for C. Allen Rose. So Division II and Division III are well thought of in there. I think if you have too many guys, you might even be fighting with each other more so than supporting what you're supposed to have. And I think the NABC's done a tremendous job of engaging and supporting Division III. I mean, you can always point right now to the All-Star game, but there's so much more that the NABC is doing for Division II and Division III besides just the All-Star game. But it's been fun, but that number's right for now, and the board is big enough.
Just for the fun of it, during your year as president, just say no to the D1 guys every once in a while. You don't care what it is, just say no to them. Say, no, we're not going to do that.
Well, the first night in Dallas and Sunday when they somewhat talk about the changes in the board at the college basketball award show. I don't know if they're going to let me talk or not, but if they do, I might shake them up a little bit. And it's funny because I've gotten to be just reconnect. I was a Division I assistant for 5 years, and then so it's funny because John Calipari was at Pitt and Kansas when I was at Tech in Cincinnati, and then it's funny when he got on the board last year and we're out in Kansas City, and he knew how my season was. He's got so many people to kind of look up facts for him, and he tell me, man, I saw you didn't have a great year last year. How's your program? How's your dad? And my dad helps me too because everybody knew who he was at that level. So it's been fun to stay connected with those guys, but it's been more fun just to make sure Division III is heard, taken care of, and we can help from the NABC standpoint to help Division III basketball progress.
Got a new gym coming in at Roanoke.
And I saw Coach Dunnigan still a non-believer.
She is.
But
she didn't think I had the right info on that.
Well, you do, and they are breaking ground. The plans are incredible. I think it's going to be a real boost to our entire athletic program, but it's going to maybe put basketball and back at the level we want to get it to. The facilities will make a difference.
I know you probably want to make sure you're coaching in that gym, but my curiosity is, how many more years you got?
Well, I'm in my early 50s.
Yeah, you got plenty more, right?
I've got 2 kids in college, so
you gotta pay for that.
If I want to coach, I love coaching. It'd be tough for me to get out of coaching, but I might be doing this till I'm 80 because the college loans, the books. I mean, it was tough to buy the books here.
Well, Nathan Davis is on the outside looking in right now. He's probably thinking, okay. You
save money for books.
Exactly.
Save money for books. It's fun, but I'm not going anywhere. I love Roanoke. As long as they'll have me. Hopefully I'll be there, and having that new facility is really fantastic. And I think I coach and there are a lot of great Division III conferences, and like the old John Wooden adage, you're not better than anybody, but you're as good as any, and I think we're as good as any there is, and I think we've proven that both on the national stage and then how we do things. I think you're really going to enjoy the men's tournament today as much as you did the women's tournament. It's really fun, it's unique, and this is the way sports should be.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having us down here. Certainly looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in three weeks as well.
My pleasure. It's fun that I'll be a little less taxing. I'm still kind of coming down from the season, but I'm you know, in recruiting mode now, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of this good basketball. I probably won't see any today because I gotta
make sure you beat these guys.
I'm heading up your way. I gotta get another player too. And I like what I have coming back. We had a good year with a lot of young kids. We returned most all of our points and rebounds, and we have a chance to get better and improve. But yeah, it starts in recruiting.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
As you know, we always give the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuning in?
Welcome to Salem. Congratulations on a tremendous Hoopsville Marathon. That's something we're definitely going to plan on assisting every year and helping as coaches. I think it was so easy to make sure, you know, that we showed the support that you've shown to us. And D3Hoops.com and Hoopsville, you know, I hope Pat can't track how much I spend on it, because and I go on Dutch Sports, but I go on there and I'm looking up records, and I can look up all of my assistant coaches or guys that have played for me, where they're coaching, what they're doing. I can look at their game, get to the live stats quickly. I'm glad he doesn't charge by the minute. It's just such a fantastic
business
thing.
Model.
Well, I'm the guy. I'm going to buy I'm going to buy that unlimited text messaging thing we came about 5-6 years ago.
D3Hoops.com, brought to you by Paige Moyer.
Yeah, they're good to us, and but appreciate all you do for us, and it's fantastic. And we're as lucky to have you as anything involved in Division III.
Well, we're lucky to have you guys as well, and your support too. Paige,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Paige Moyer from Roanoke College. You'll be the next NABC president, starting in Dallas, and what a heck of a way to start your career there as a president. We'll have plenty more coming up. Randolph-Macon's men's basketball coach Nathan Davis will join us. If you have questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@D3Hoops.com, or on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Back with more Hoopsville presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches, simulcast today on ODAC.tv. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm Dave McHugh, broadcasting out of the Hoopsville studios is what I was about to say. Clearly we're not. We're at the Salem Civic Center here in Salem, Virginia for the ODAC men's basketball tournament today. We were here for the women's tournament yesterday. I'm now joined by Randolph-Macon men's basketball coach Nathan Davis, who is the #1 team here in the ODAC, number 12 on your D3Hoops.com national poll. First and foremost, congratulations on at least securing #1, which gave you guys a few extra days off before coming here to the Salem Civic Center.
Well, usually #1, you'd be a lot happier than we are today.
Yes,
it's been a great season.
Opponent.
We played well, but we're playing Hampton-Sydney today, who I think is the most talented team in the league. For whatever reason, they weren't able to put it together, but they played very well the other night, so we're certainly going to have our hands full.
I was going to say, I almost fear that what you guys did to them at your place in the rivalry game just about a week or so ago may almost come back at you guys. You thoroughly dismantled them. It wasn't close, especially in the second half. That's the kind of thing in a rivalry game they're going to chew on for a while. It's almost locker room material. I know you don't certainly want to make a game close just to keep something from happening, but there's something got to be in the back of your mind going, okay, that's not what we would love to do necessarily.
Well, we've been on both sides of it. We've been beaten pretty badly before and come back and won. We've been beaten badly before and come back and lost. So the reality is, no matter what happened a week ago or 2 weeks ago or last year, will play any role in what happens today. We got to go out today. We got to play well, and if we play our best, we'll have a shot at the end.
Again, 1 seed. Of course, you have to take on Hampton-Sydney, the 8, here today. But then you move on. You guys are sitting first in the regional rankings. Virginia Wesleyan's sitting 3rd. Guilford's sitting 7th. There's talk that the conference is probably going to get 2, probably going to have some things happen to get 3, and honestly that means probably having you guys lose, unfortunately, to get 3. Last year you got 4 in, thanks in part to your incredible strength of schedule. How do you see the ODAC shaping up this year? I think 2 teams get in, can they make some waves?
I don't think there's any question about it. The teams at the top of our league are very good, and I think they're as good as anywhere you're going to find in the country. What makes our league so strong, though, is you start moving down, you get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They all have winning records. They're all very tough to beat. They're all really well coached, so you just don't have any nights off. And so it prepares you in many ways for anything you can possibly see once you get to the national tournament. If you're fortunate enough to get there, that your guys will have been through tough situations. They'll seen every kind of offense, every kind of defense that's out there, and so it gives you a chance to at least be familiar with whatever you're going to see.
We talked a couple weeks ago when you were on the show about parity. At one point, I don't know if it's still true because I don't have it in front of me, but 10 of the 12 teams had above 500 records in their overall schedule, and really that bottom team, I think it was Shenandoah, was only a couple games below 500 in the conference, which was pretty impressive considering you only had 1 loss in the conference. The conference has always been tough, or I should say, especially in the last 5 years, has been very tough. It's not easy to play any night in against any opponent. You get 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. Last year it's happened where you get 3 on a lot of occasions. But that parity jumps out at me. I don't remember that much winning teams in the ODAC conference, especially week and a half left in the season.
Well, I think you got to give the coaches in our league a lot of credit. We have a lot of young guys. I mean, Page has been around for a while, but he's the all-time winningest coach in the league, in league history. But you got a lot of younger guys that get out, they really work hard, they recruit, they prepare their team. So, like I said earlier, every game's a grind. If you don't play well, you're going to get beat on the road. I mean, even us, we've been playing very well. We're playing Emory and Henry at home, who hadn't won. I think they lost 18 in a row, and we found ourselves down 21-10. Because they were playing well and we weren't. We were able to get it back in control and find a way to win that game. But it goes that way every game across the board. If you're not ready to go in our league, you're going to lose. And typically, you get through our league, you're going to have 2, 3, maybe 4 losses and still be the #1 seed in our league. And I think that's a testament to the depth and the talent of the players in our league and the talent of the coaches in our league. You
are known to go out there and challenge yourselves. Last year, your SOS was the best in the country, and it was not even close. I think at the end of it, when the old regionally ranked opponent system was in place, and I mean old by saying every time a team was ranked, you got credit for it, even if it was week 1. I think all but 2 of your games were against regionally ranked opponents. And that might be an exaggeration considering you do play in the conference. This year you went out and did the same thing. You went out there and challenged yourselves with some really good opponents. I know I was talking to your AD, Jeff Burns, and he was talking about how you're scheduling. How important is it to you, even though you are one of the top teams in the ODAC, well, I should say, let me change that. Why do you go out there and challenge yourself to that many good teams and pick up maybe extra losses when you do have a good challenge in the ODAC?
Well, I think the answer to that's twofold. The first is that I played for a guy named Hal Nunley, who was a great college basketball coach, and one of his big philosophies was you never want the best team in your league to be the best team you play all year long. Well, in the ODAC, if you're going to play someone besides the best team in your league, it's going to be a top 5, 6, 7, 10 team in the country you got to play. And the second one is I think that our program, through the work of Coach Nunley and Coach Webb and Mike Rhodes, and hopefully I'm able to continue it on some, has got a lot of respect. And so it's hard for us to find games. So instead of playing some teams closer, we end up going up and playing Cabrini. We end up having to go to play Scranton's tournament. We end up playing in the Hoopsville and get teams that are in the NCAA tournament. And that's just who will play us. We play Christopher Newport every year because we both are in the same boat where it's a close game and we're both typically pretty good. We need the game, and it just makes too much sense not to play, even though certainly we'd rather play some teams that aren't quite as strong, but that's the way it works out. Our guys come to school here because they want to challenge themselves. They want to become the best they can be. They want to see where they stand. They want to play against Division I schools. So we try to do that every year. Excuse me. But that's just part of the burden we have. And it's a lot better than having a situation where people don't care, where you're not very good and everyone wants to play you. But we got to go out there. It gives us a chance as the year goes on to continue to get better and better and better. We know early on where we stand and what we need to work on, so we can start working on that right away, as opposed to playing some teams that aren't quite as good and coming out of it with maybe 2 wins or 3 wins, but getting into league play and not knowing what you really aren't good at, and having that come back and bite you later on in the year.
This is probably a question really coming from my point of view because it's the stuff I look at. But you guys are #1 in the regional rankings. You have been there. You're in good position to make the NCAA tournament probably no matter what happens this weekend. Obviously, you want to go and win the tournament, but besides that, you're in position to host. And I know a couple years ago how much that hurt you guys that you didn't get the hosting due to a screw-up from the women's point of view. Having games at Crenshaw are important. I'm going to wager even money, you haven't said a thing to the team, but how important is it to do the job here this weekend so you can at least secure the opportunity to be at home the first weekend, if not the second weekend?
Well, I think it's a tremendous advantage for anyone to play at home. I mean, you're more comfortable. You're used to the building. It's where it's your bed where you sleep every night. You have a kind of a routine you can go through. You don't have to travel. It's easier as far as that goes. And obviously, you have the fans on your side. So if things aren't going well, they can help pick you up. Things aren't going well, they can maybe push you over the top. But certainly, you want to play at home. I hope that we're in the tournament already. I don't know. I know the only way we know for sure is if we can win 3 games. If we can't win today, we don't win. We will have no chance of winning 3 games, and it'll be up to it's out of our control. One thing I know is we have control of the situation right now. We've certainly played very well. I believe we're good enough to win 3 games here in 3 days, but we got to make sure that we're good enough today to win this game.
Hampton to Sydney coming up, number 8 seed. Obviously, your team's getting ready as we speak to play them and getting ready to warm up, really, I should say. What are going to be the keys? Can you take anything from that game back in Ashland not that long ago? Can you take anything from the previous game, considering how big this rivalry is?
Well, yeah, we actually sat down with our guys and showed them some of the things, because I felt like the last game we obviously played very well. The big thing we did is we made a lot of shots. I also thought that the shots bailed us out because we left a bunch of points on the board that could have even come across as easier plays for us in the way we typically play. And so we spent some time, we looked at those. We looked at some things defensively we could have done much better. It was great to win that game. It's a big rivalry game at home. It was great to win down there. But at the same time, even when you win a game, whether you win by 10 or 15 or you lose a game by 2 or 3 or 4, what have it, there's always something you can work on to get better. And so we've been spending the past few days trying to address the things we saw on film, and we're able to show our guys on film that we need to do better in order to not necessarily have to rely on the ball going in.
Somebody's watching the game. What's going to be maybe the matchup that you guys have keyed on that we should be looking at too?
Well, I think for them, it all starts with Kobe Williamson in the middle. This is my 5th year here. Probably the best player in the league over that time has been Tyler Sanborn, who's unfortunately an assistant on their staff working with Kobe. But I think you can make a strong case that Kobe Williamson's better than Tyler was as he was a senior. He's
better
a tremendous
than Ben
player. I didn't see Ben as much.
No, I'm just
but
curious.
Since
Tyler
Alicia,
wasn't better than Ben, but
we've seen. What you're talking about with some of the teams we played to be in the NCAA tournament, we've seen Tyler Sanborn, we've seen Aaron Walton Moss. We've played A.J. Matthews a few years ago at Farmingdale, who was clearly the best player that we've ever played against since I've been here, was A.J. Matthews. I think you make a case Kobe Williamson's next.
Interesting.
Obviously, Walton Moss, I think, gave us 40, so it's a big big statement.
Walton Moss is putting 40 on everybody.
Yeah, but Kobe can dominate in so many different ways. He's every bit of 6'7", he's every bit of 220. He can step out and make 15, 17 footers. He's a good free throw shooter. He gets just about every rebound around him, and he'll dunk on your head in a second, and he's almost automatic with his little jumpy hook. So making sure that he can't catch it on the spots for us is key. I should say is key number 1 in the half court. We got to do a good job of getting back in transition to make them have to go against our half court defense, which I think is pretty good. And we got to do a good job of keeping them from getting off of spots. When it goes out to shooters, have pressure on them, be able to contest them, and then they do a great job. Obviously on the offensive glass, I think they have the largest rebounding margin in the league. We got to do a great job of keeping them off the glass so we can get the ball and get a chance to go.
Last thought, it's a rivalry game, but it's also the 3rd time you'll play them. Everybody knows each other in the ODAC tournaments. As much as you guys can prep, as much as you guys can scout, as much as you look over game tape until you're probably, bloodshot eyes and looking for coffee, how much do you also just throw all that out the door because it's going to depend on the game?
I think, you do your best to prepare them so they've seen different situations. They have an idea of what's coming, but it's going to come down to rebounding. It's going to come down to post defense. It's going to come down to, are you going to contest every shot? It's going to come down to, are you going to give up easy baskets to make them earn everything you have? And then on the offensive end, it's, are you going to be able to get the shots you want? Typically, the team that does the best job of getting the shots they want in games like this against 2 good teams, and Iowa's going to be the one that comes out successful. We got to take care of the ball. We got to make sure we get the shots we want to the guys we want where we get them, and we got to make sure that on their end they have to take shots that are contested, and that we get every loose ball. And when the shot goes up, we hit people and are able to get the ball and get it out and not give them extra possessions.
Well, very good. Well, good luck today against Hampton Sydney, and then on to the rest of the tournament should you guys win. Good luck in the NCAA tournament. I'm just going to pencil you guys in at this point in time. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's an easier way to just kind of sign off. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, I think, like I said the other night on with you, I want to tell you and say from all of us at Randolph Macon, we appreciate all that you guys do at D3 Hoops to promote our sport in our division nationally. I also think it's great that the country here with Hoopsville is going to get to see what the ODAC tournament's all about. You're going to see 4 really good games today with eight really quality teams. Everyone's got guys that can play. Everyone's got guys that can coach. It should be very competitive, as it always is, and hopefully people will tune in tomorrow to see what's next.
Well, I'm looking forward to. I get to be on the call for this one too. That's what I'm looking forward to. Nathan Davis, thanks so much for joining us. He's Nathan Davis from Randolph-Macon. Again, they tip off in an hour against Hampden-Sydney on ODAC.tv, kicking off the 4 games of men's basketball quarterfinal action here at the ODAC tournament. When we come back, we'll jump and go national and talk some national coaches who are trying to position themselves as well. We'll start with Hobart, go St. Thomas, and Bethany, all coming up here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches from the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia, thanks to the ODAC conference and, of course, simulcast on ODAC.tv. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting from the Salem Civic Center as we get ready for the quarterfinal action in men's basketball here at the ODAC tournament. Of course, on the women's side of things, they already played yesterday, had some tough games, but all the top seeds did win. They will move on to play semifinals tomorrow. You can catch all those games on ODAC.tv. For more information, go to their website. We are, of course, simulcast on ODAC TV, and we want to thank everybody at the ODAC, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, at Brad Banks and J.J. Knuckleoff and Molly Robertson, of course, for their help, and, of course, those here helping us broadcast so far. We're going to have a special show here. We're going to keep going along with our scope. We covered our ODAC in the first hour. We're now going to look at a more national scope of things. Look at teams who are trying to position themselves for the NCAA tournament, or in some cases, make sure they lock up a bid to the NCAA tournament. And joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem, is Coach John Tower at St. Thomas. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dave. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time. 21-4 this season, 18-2 in conference. Coach, there's 2 games were a sweep by the Johnnies in those rivalry games against you guys. I know that stings probably the most. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, we weren't. We don't like to lose too many games to begin with, and St. John's had a really nice team this year and tripped us up twice. We went 18-2 in the conference, and quite honestly, we were pretty thrilled with how our guys played most of the year. We lost 4 starters from last year's Final Four team, and I think the guys have played very, very well all year. weren't happy with how we played on Saturday, but we'll get back at it tonight.
You take on Bethel tonight in the semifinals of the MIAC. You guys are sitting, let's say, mid-pack in the regional rankings might be the best way to describe it. How do you feel comfortable-wise? Do you feel this team's going to make the NCAA tournament despite, let's say, a God forbid blemish this weekend? Or do you need to just go out there and win the conference and just make sure you secure it yourself?
Well, it's not something we talk about at all. I mean, our goal is to win tonight, and then whoever we would get a chance to play on Sunday and earn it that way. And, we're 3rd in the regional rankings right now, I believe, which, it's a tough region, and in this area of the country, we know year in and year out is going to have many of the top 15, 20 teams in the country. So, I think we feel good being 21-4, but we never let our minds wander to things that we can't control. One of the things we talk to our guys a lot about, control the controllables, and certainly we can't decide what an NCAA committee is going to do if they're put in that position. And I think our guys are really good at staying focused on that and just focus on Bethel tonight.
Bethel game coming up. Obviously, you got both wins against them. What's going to be the secret to getting past them to the championship game?
They're a good team. New coach. Coach Novak's doing a great job there. They mix their defenses up a lot, and they play exceptionally hard. I think they play as hard as any team we've seen all year. Both of our games with them were battles. They went on the road to beat Augsburg, who was a really good senior-laden team. They beat them on Wednesday night. They've got a freshman point guard who's, he's their leading scorer and really makes them go, Bryson Voida. So we're certainly going to have our work cut out for us. We're excited. I think we'll have a great environment here at St. Thomas tonight for the game. But it'll be a fun up-tempo game, and I think our guys relish playing in those kind of atmospheres.
When you look at this conference, I should say, the 2 losses were against St. John's. You got the 2 wins against St. Olaf. St. Olaf, though, right there at the top of the conference. How different was the conference this year in that sense? Because usually you guys are on top, but St. Olaf hasn't been in the mix. St. John's seems to be getting back into the mix after a few years.
Yeah, I think the MIAC is, there are probably some usual suspects, and this year St. Olaf is really, really good. I mean, we had 2 tough games with them, and they were 17-3 in the conference. Fortunately, we beat them both times we played them, but Coach Kosmowski's done a tremendous job. They've got 8 seniors and a very veteran team. Gustavus went on the road to St. John's the other day, and they beat them, and the Gusties are always really tough. So I think when you look at it, the teams year in and year out from top to bottom, I think it's a lot of the usual suspects, but this year in particular probably, I think the top 5 or 6 teams on any given night, you've seen a lot of close games, and you've also seen some upsets, and I think that's a testament to the depth of this conference, and playing 20 games in the conference season each year is, we feel it prepares us exceptionally well if we're fortunate enough to advance to the NCAA.
This is a team, as you point out, you guys were on the doorstep of making that national championship, and then you had that patented run by Mary Hardin-Baylor last year. They did it to a lot of teams to advance on. How hard was that loss to recover from?
You say that like we've recovered.
I was assuming.
I think it's like basketball. You're asking about the 2 St. John's losses and the Mary Hardin loss, and our guys, our goal is never to lose, and we've been fortunate to, we just won our 9th straight conference title in the MIAC, which has never been done before. 9 straight 20+ win seasons, and I think our guys are a resilient group, and they understand that at that time of the year, I thought we had put ourselves in a really good position. Mary Hardin made some huge shots, and is a really good team. And like you said, they had done that to some others. In the tournament at that time, our second round game against Wheaton was an absolute battle. Our third round game with Calvin came down to the last 20 seconds. Our Elite Eight game against Williams came down to the last 20 seconds. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's easy to remember the games that you lose and the close ones, and I think it's important that, and one of the things that's allowed us to play well this year is the guys realize that even though we did graduate 5 seniors and 4 starters, that the cupboard wasn't bare, and the tradition at St. Thomas that has been here for so long, certainly the expectations for excellence haven't wavered.
Yeah, I was going to say the expectations certainly are high. Of course, you're in a tough West region. Stevens Point, Whitewater sitting on top of the region. How do you see this region shaping up this year? What have you maybe been most impressed with?
Well, we played Stevens Point. We play them every year in the regular season, and we played them a couple times in the national tournament. And they're, as sound as team can be. I mean, Bob Semling does an outstanding job, and Whitewater is one of the top teams in the country, and I think the WIAC always produces teams like that. But, I think you look, St. Olaf, I think, has put together a great year. And then there's teams out west, Whitworth and Whitman, I think, who we played last year, and we're going to play both of them again next year. We played Pomona this year. And so our guys have gotten a chance to see a lot of the top teams in the region over the last couple of years. And I think the other thing is you combine the West with the Midwest, which geographically often happens when the NCAA comes out, and all of a sudden you're adding in the CCIW, and you're adding in Wash U and St. Norbert's, and in 2009 we played in, I think at the time you guys affectionately referred to it as the bracket of death, where 11 of the top 15 teams in the country were in that bracket. And I think when you look this year, there's probably a decent chance that something like that is going to happen again when you see all the top teams. And that's the way it is. The fun thing is we get to see a lot of the best teams in the country on a regular basis. And, you talk about Stevens Point and Whitewater, there are 2 of them certainly, and there are a lot of others. And the beautiful thing about basketball is you got to bring it that night for 40 minutes. And there's no easy way out in March. It's an exciting time of the year, but it's also a time of the year where you have to make sure you're at your top to execute everything on both ends of the floor.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about your team and even a few of their losses here today. I know you're looking forward to the Bethany game, so we wish you luck to be sure. Make sure you guys have a good time of it, as it were. As always, we give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in today?
Well, I hope the fans, we appreciate all that you guys do at D3 Hoops, you and Pat, and I hope the fans will come out. This is a special time of the year, and you see a lot of guys play their last games, and you see a lot of teams move on, and it really it's what guys have worked so hard for the last 4.5 months. We're deep into the season and feel blessed to be in the position we're in, to have won the conference title, but also just really grateful for the attention that you bring to Division III sports. I just got done teaching a class probably 10 minutes ago in motivation, and 2 of our women's players were in there, and they just won a big game in Moorhead, Concordia last night. We have a 9:30 a.m. class. They got back at 2:30 last night, and they're in class right in the front row the next day. And so, to me, that really epitomizes all that Division III athletics is about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Good luck tonight, and we'll look forward to seeing where the Tommies maybe are going on Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yep, take care. Coach John Tower joining us here from St. Thomas on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament here in Salem, Virginia. Going to take another break. When we come back, we will jump to the east and talk to Hobart's men's basketball coach, Mike Neer. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, live from the Salem Civic Center for the ODAC men's basketball quarterfinals today, thanks to the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, of course, simulcast on ODAC.tv. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I'm your host, Dave McHugh, broadcasting live from the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia, as we get ready for the ODAC Men's Basketball Championship Tournament quarterfinals. Of course, we saw the women's quarterfinals yesterday. Good games there, hard fought right down the end. All the top seeds won, but it was close in many. Pretty much expect that here on the men's side, though I wouldn't be surprised if we see at least one upset. The men certainly known for more of the upsets. Tune in starting at 1 o'clock, Hampden-Sydney versus the top seed Randolph-Macon. I will be on the call for that for ODAC.tv. Make sure you check it out. It should be a good time. We are about 25 minutes left here on Hoopsville. If you got any questions for us or our guests, tweet us at D3Hoopsville. Use the hashtag Hoopsville. Also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville or join us via email, hoopsville@D3Hoops.com. We were going to jump now from the West region in Minnesota to the East region in New York State. Joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the city of Salem, Virginia, host of the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament, is Hobart men's basketball coach Mike Neer. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Glad to be with you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. 20-6 on the season, 13-3 in the conference in the Liberty League. Argumentatively, you can correct me if I'm not wrong, I know you at least well enough to suspect that 13-3 mark bugs you a little bit, maybe.
Surprises me.
Or just it just bugs you. I suspect you wanted more success this year, maybe.
Well, to be honest, 13-3 and winning the league by 3 games after graduating an All-American point guard, I thought it was a pretty good achievement. Would I, like a few more wins? Yeah, my name is Coach, and I can be greedy. but I do think that we've gotten an awful lot out of the team that we have. I think we've grown. I think we've gotten better each month. But I don't think we are. I don't think our margin for victory was as great this year as it was a year ago. But all that aside, we're where we want to be at this particular time. We're playing for the tournament championship game, and we're at home, and we've earned that. And what happens tomorrow afternoon, we'll have to wait and see.
This team is 42-6 in league play. You're 4-1 in the tournament. Your only loss being Skidmore 2 years ago in the championship game. Certainly when you retired from Rochester, we all know that the basketball itch was hard to ignore, and so you came right back and got into things and went to Hobart. You've had a lot of success there. How has this marriage worked out for you?
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and I think I think the players chance to get back a lot of the things I missed without a lot of things I didn't miss. I've got to say that I inherited very good kids, some good players, and just a neat college environment. Izzy Metz, who was the coach at Hobart before I followed him, got good kids who were gym rats. Basketball was important to them. So I inherited a change in culture. Izzy deserves a lot of credit for that. I've been able to kind of build on that. I think I've offered my take more on a half-court version of basketball, both offense and defense. Izzy had some success, doing pressing up tempo style. But I think the players have bought into both of us. So it's been a lot of fun.
Talking to Mike Neer here, men's basketball coach for Hobart, as we continue to report here from the Hoopsville, or from the Hoopsville Classic is what I was going to call this. This is not the Hoopsville Classic. This is the ODAC tournament. Coach, the East region right now, you got 3 SUNYAC teams sitting on top of the conference. When you look at things, do you feel there's any security in the East that at large bids are going to be anywhere easy to come from?
I don't pay an awful lot of attention to things that I don't have a say in. I have a say in how we prepare and for our next opponent, and clearly we want to win, and that gets us into the tournament. If we don't, that's left to others. I think we can acquit ourselves, regardless of how we get in. I think we'll be smart team, a tough team, and I think they're capable of beating big people. But I don't spend an awful lot of time looking at things that are outside of my reach.
Your team's always known for the best matchups possible, and of course you're always a dangerous team in the NCAA tournament, but you do have the Liberty League to get through tonight, or this weekend. What's the message to the team? How do you get these guys prepared for the task at hand this weekend?
Well, it starts way back in the fall, I think, and when I was coaching at Rochester, and I think, I don't think I've changed in my approach to the game. I start the season preparing teams for big games, for championships. And I believe, I noticed this as a kid, back 10, 12 years old, looking at the sports page with a bowl of Wheaties each morning, you noticed that when it was the Celtics and the Lakers playing back in the old days, that they may score 120 during the regular season. In the playoffs, it was an awful lot of 80s and 90s. And I've watched college, as teams advance to the Final Four for the last 5 decades, championship games, the scores get lower and lower for a couple of reasons. As you advance towards championships, talent evens out. You don't tend to press your way to a championship. I mean, it's as good a team in the press as Louisville was last year. You notice in the tournament, he turned it on, turned it off. As you in championships, be it high school, small college, the big boys, the NBA, you have to be able to get stops and execute in the half court. And I learned that early. I had an opportunity. My first coaching opportunity was an assistant at the Naval Academy during Vietnam. And needless to say, we weren't getting the pick of the litter when it came to basketball players. So at a time where we're playing Maryland when Lefty was there and John Thompson starting things at Georgetown, and in Princeton had first-round draft picks, at Navy we had to use what we had to stay in games. And that was discipline, that was taking care of the ball. And so we were able to steal a few games and stay in games with better players. As the opportunity 35, 40 years ago at Rochester came, I kind of took the approach that let's prepare for big games and championships. Where I'm going is I teach teams to understand what we do and how to control and fine-tune our offense, fine-tune our defense, be less dependent on scouting than others. And so what I like to think here is we have a team that can understand what we need to do to adjust to different opponents. So that's the preparation I have going into this time of year.
Well, Coach, I certainly appreciate you coming on the show and letting us break up that preparation, as it were, just a little bit as you get ready for the Liberty League semifinals coming up. I know you're eagerly awaiting to see who gets into the NCAA tournament, and hopefully you can punch your own bid as well. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, I do want to say I think the Liberty League we've been very competitive this year. We've got some good young coaches, and we got 3 dinosaurs: Mike Griffin at RPI, Bob McVeigh at RIT, and myself. We're still hanging in there, but there are some very sharp, bright, good young coaches, and I give them a lot of credit for raising the profile of the league.
Well, Coach, it is certainly fun to watch all of you guys play. I'm looking forward to seeing how the tournament shakes out this weekend. Looking forward to seeing who gets into the NCAA tournament as well. Good luck yourselves. Hopefully we'll see you dancing in March as well.
Thank you, David. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Coach Mike Neer joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up with a team who's certainly on the proverbial bubble, and that is Bethany out of West Virginia. How they ended up there and what their chances are. We'll talk to their head coach, Andrew Sachs, coming up here on Hoopsville. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. And, of course, here in the Salem Civic Center for the ODAC Men's Basketball Championship Tournament today, and that's all thanks to the ODAC and, of course, all those who work there, and, of course, this broadcast simulcast on ODAC.tv. Back right after this. And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. I am Dave McHugh, broadcasting from the Salem Civic Center as part of the ODAC Men's and Women's Basketball Championship Tournament. Of course, the men quarterfinals taking place today. Just about 30 minutes, Randolph-Macon, the top seed, number 13 team in the country, will take on Hampton-Sydney, their big rivals in the first game of the quarterfinals here at the Salem Civic Center. Of course, we will lead you up for another 10 or so minutes here on Hoopsville. And don't forget, we're on the air, and we'll talk about that more on Sunday and Monday as well. We're going to talk, we've been talking a lot about teams who are getting ready for the NCAA tournament and trying to position themselves, and those who are now looking on the outside and hopefully getting in. And one of those would be Bethany, and we're going to now go to the Hoopsville Hotline presented by the City of Salem, host of the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament here in 3 weeks. And Coach Sachs joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Coach, I know this is not the position you wanted to be talking to me in.
No, but it's a position we put ourselves into. So, you know, we won our last 8 games in a row in the regular season and did not play very well on Tuesday night. And, you know, so we're now on the outside looking in.
I was going to say, what happened in the game? It certainly was one, I think, that caught everybody by surprise, and obviously including yourselves. What happened? Was it just that they played much better than you guys had an off night? Was it just that?
Well, I mean, we gave up 67% in the first half. You know, we didn't come out with a lot of energy. You know, we had beaten them twice before, and you know, you try to tell the kids as best you can to, you know, it's prepared for a championship. But you know, we played much better in the second half defensively, but you know, we didn't shoot the ball particularly well, and they had something to do with it, obviously. And you know, our sixth man was not on the team, so you know, we got what we deserved. And unfortunately for us, you know, it was a quick exit, and it was a shame because you know, we were picked 4th in the league this year, Dave. We have some great out-of-conference wins. We won the regular season by 2 games, so you know, it was unfortunate, but you know, it doesn't disappoint for what we had going 21-5 so far.
Of course, when you look at what you guys are now sitting in, you're on the Pool C bubble, as it were. The write-up after the game basically said awaiting an ECAC bid. Have you guys at the school just written off the chances of trying to make the NCAA tournament at this point?
You know, we're practicing. Either, you know, we're going to be in the NCAAs or we're going to be in the ECAC, one or the other. We're certainly going to play in the postseason again. But, you know, we're going to practice like we're going to play games, you know, whether it's going to be on Wednesday or whether it's going to be on Friday.
You guys are in a position in the regional rankings, and forgive me, I just blanked as I went to go ask you that. I'm calling it up. You guys are sitting 3rd in the regional rankings behind Worcester and Hope. Mount Union has lost behind you. You got to figure DePaul, Wittenberg, Ohio Wesleyan, 2 of them will lose behind you. Could those losses almost maybe be helping you guys stay in a good position in the Great Lakes and thus get to the table?
That'll be up to the committee.
Yeah,
With
true.
them not on, so, you know, obviously they're going to look at the body of work. And, again, you know, I think we have some really good out-of-conference wins. And I think if you look at the body of work and how many true road games that we played as compared to the other teams, I think it's, you know, it's pretty remarkable. We had 6 true road out-of-conference games this year. You know, I'm not going to name the teams, but you can go look at some of those teams around. They played 1 or 2 true road games. And, you know, I got dropped in the middle of August by an OAC team, and I had to pick up Penn State DuBois, which obviously will hurt our power rating a little bit. But, you know, we try to play the hardest schedule we can, Dave, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. But obviously, to get to the NCAA tournament, you have to win your conference tournament, which we haven't done. And, you know, now we basically let our fate in the hands of a committee.
I was going to say, are you watching scores that closely? Are you sitting there seeing a win and excited or not excited about it? You seeing a loss and getting excited or not excited about it at this point?
I click on D3 Hoops at around 10:30 at night. I look at the scores, and that's about all I do.
Yeah. You're not letting it sink in?
I don't want to go and follow the games and you know, but you know, I look at, you know, Thomas More and St. Vincent in our league, who both have very good years. You know, Thomas More hasn't lost a home game at all this year in the league, and you know, they were picked 2nd in the league this year, and they had a couple injuries earlier in the year. They got you know, the 2 post kids were hurt, and they came back at the end of December, and they played very well since they've been back. You know, but again, you look what they did earlier in the year. It's not very good because those 2 kids didn't play. You know. So, I mean, are they going to take that into effect? I don't know. You know, St. Vincent probably, arguably, has the 2 best players in the league, in Dylan and Isaac. So, we fared well against both those teams this year. We split with both of them. And like I said, we made our own bet, so we have to allow other people to decide our fate instead of us letting us determine it tomorrow night.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, what do you have to tell the team? Obviously, you're getting ready for either ECACs or NCAAs. Obviously, the two have very different meanings. So, what are you telling the team in practices? How do you keep motivations high, as it were?
Well, it's tough. I will say this: on Wednesday, it was very tough. But as we moved on, yesterday's practice was a little bit better. We'll see how we go today, or whether we're going to be in the ECACs for sure. We're going to practice and we're going to play another game. I haven't, the NCAA, if we're in, great, and we'd be very, very happy because I think these guys have earned it. If not, then we'll play in the ECACs on Wednesday. We're just going to practice and we're going to play another game, which we're going to do, Dave. We're going to play another game. But we got to wash the taste out of our mouth for sure. That will linger the whole summer.
Well, Coach, I know it's hard to talk about whether you're in or not in and what you guys have positioned yourself in. I would argue that Mount Union losing behind you has maybe helped just a little bit. I can only maybe see one team getting ahead of you at this point in the regional rankings, so you just never know certainly what might happen. It would be fun to see you guys. I know you're proud of your team. Give us a little bit of a sense of who they are. I know when you messaged me sometime in the last week or two, it's all a blur in my time frame right now. You really talked and were excited about the guys who come out of the Baltimore metro area and such.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of who you got.
Well, we lost 4,300 points from last year's team.
Right.
We were picked fourth in the league. I knew we'd be pretty good. I don't know if we were going for 21-4 or not, but I mean, I knew we'd be pretty good because we had a good nucleus of kids coming back, and basically, almost the entire part of this team that was here last year, and. We have 5 starters all from the Baltimore area. We have Delonte Joyce, who's led us in scoring. I think is third in the country in steals, who basically sat the bench his first 2 years here and played behind Nick Wilcox, who was one of the better players to ever play here. Leslie Addy's been a 3-year starter for us, and he's played with a torn labrum all year, and he actually sprained his ankle in the game on Tuesday night. But I mean, that kid, he deserves to go out a winner. I mean, basically playing with one arm the entire season. And we have 3 other kids, Lawrence Weldon, Tyrone Smothers, and Kevin Jackson, who have all improved from last year dramatically. Kevin Jackson's reshaped his body, has lost 10% body fat, and had a good year for us too. So Lawrence is certainly one of the better point guards in the league. And I can't be prouder of these guys. I don't want to say they've overachieved because they really haven't. I think it's unfortunate they've had to learn a tough lesson where you got to show up to play every day. But I mean, they certainly have represented the program and the school very, very well. A lot to be proud of if you're a Bethany alumni for sure.
Well, congratulations on certainly a good season considering your pick for 4th, and certainly a much better improvement on that. Good luck waiting out whatever envelope is delivered to you guys, whether it's the NCAA or ECAC. Thanks for coming on Hoopsville. I certainly appreciate it. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who are tuning in?
Well, I wish all the teams that are still playing the best of luck, and hopefully on Monday early we can get a call that we're going to play in the NCAA tournament. If not, we'll certainly be happy to play in the ECACs and keep playing some basketball. But enjoy the ODAC tournament. I was part of that for 4 years as an assistant. It's one of the better ones in the country, so have fun.
I will. I'm planning on it too. Coach, thanks so much. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Take care, Dave. Thank you.
Andrew Sachs joining us from Bethany. Team is, interestingly enough, I would have told you 24 hours ago, really on the outside looking in. Now that Mount Union lost, and we've seen some other losses of teams who are behind them, they may be in better position than we hoped, but at the same time, that Pool C bubble is getting tougher and tougher because some of the top favorites have lost. A reminder coming up in a little under 25 minutes, we'll have the start of the men's basketball championship tournament here in Salem. Of course, the first rounds were played on Tuesday. They will play the quarterfinal rounds here, starting at 1 o'clock with a big game between number 13, Randolph-Macon, and their rivals in Hampton-Sydney. I'm lucky enough to be on the call for that for ODAC.tv. You'll be able to chance to watch it on ODAC.tv as well. Of course, 4 games today, 1, 3, 6, and 8. Then tomorrow is the semifinals in both women and men, and then on Sunday it is the championship games. This wraps up our Hoopsville side of things here from the ODAC tournament. Tomorrow we will be heading back north. I've got games to get to on Saturday. Don't forget then Sunday we will be on the air starting at 6 o'clock Eastern time to cover who's in and who's out of the NCAA tournaments. talk to teams who may be on that Pool C bubble, teams that may be surprised and are into the NCAA tournament as well. We'll also kind of give our prognostications of who may be in and who may be out of the tournament coming up when those announcements are made on Monday. Then on Monday, 12:30 Eastern Time, the men's bracket will be announced, followed by 2:30 Eastern Time. The women's bracket will be announced. Go to d3hoops.com for links to those broadcasts and certainly more coverage. We'll even have our projected bracket and those who we think are into the tournament at some point on late Sunday morning or early Monday morning. All of those tournament announcements will then be followed by a special Hoopsville on Monday. We will do that somewhere between 3 and 4. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook for more information on exactly what time we'll hit the air. We'll talk to the teams who are in that may have surprised us. We'll talk to the teams who are left out of the NCAA tournament. Also talk to some of the teams who will be hosting. And, of course, we'll also talk to both committee chairs about the selections that were made. Follow us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville and using the hashtag Hoopsville. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. And, of course, on email, hoopsville@d3hoops.com. Again, coming up in just about 20 minutes, we'll start the ODAC Men's Basketball Championship Tournament. We'll do interviews throughout the day as well when I'm not broadcasting games. You'll notice we had a few interviews yesterday from the women's games. Today we'll have a few interviews from the men's games. We'll also sit down and talk to Jeff Burns, the athletics director at Randolph-Macon, also the committee chair for the South Region and thus on the national committee chair for the national committee on the men's side of things. Give you a preview, as it were, as to what this committee is going to be dealing with in the next few days, something you don't get a chance to do until we talk to Steve Ulrich on Monday. So we'll get a little bit of an insight on what they're looking at when it comes to selections and bracketing. That will come up at some time today. Just follow our Twitter feed for those tweets. I want to end the show today on a little bit of a different note, and I apologize if it's a bit of a downer note, but I just got word while I was on the air of a death of a colleague of ours in the Baltimore area. It may not relate directly to Division III, but I think it relates to a lot of the sports information directors I work with and those of us work with at D3 Hoops. Everyone will tell you a really good SID or a really good PR person can make the day of a media member. It can make the day of those who are involved. It can make the day of coaching staffs and others because they make it easy for you to do your job, make it easy for you to do your business. Today we lost a good one. Monica Pence from the Orioles died at the age of 36. She died of cancer. I believe it was lung cancer. She was not a smoker. It was a rare form. She died today, and I feel bad about that. I certainly feel sorry for that because she was one of the good ones. She was one of those who would greet you with a smile. She would do anything you could. When I worked in television news in the Baltimore area, as a sports producer and then news producer, Monica was one of those I could always turn to. And even if she had to tell me no, she would do it gracefully. She would do it nicely. She did it professionally. She always greeted you with a smile, as I mentioned. She always treated you warmly and gently and respectfully, no matter what the scenario. The Orioles have lost a good one. Major League Baseball has lost a good one. Public relations and sports information directors have lost a good one today. Forgive me the tears because Monica died at way too young an age, at 36. So to Monica Pence, thank you. As much as I can't tell you in person, thank you for your service and thank you for being just a good person. I hope there are people around the country who can exemplify what you did as a professional for the Baltimore Orioles, especially in any world, including Division III. So for Monica Pence, thank you very much. For all of you who watch the show, thank you for tuning in and thank you for giving me this moment that I could honor Monica for. We'll be back on the air again Sunday at 6 o'clock. Follow us on Twitter, etc., etc. I want a heartfelt thank you to those at the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, Brad Bankston, Molly Robertson, JJ Nekloff, Chad, of course, with our broadcast crew here who helped us simulcast this broadcast here on Hoopsville and our first trip to the ODAC Championship Tournament. Wonderful experience doing the shows here prior to all the games. I will be doing the broadcast here in about 20 minutes for the big game between Randolph-Macon and Hampton City. Also thanks to Kerry Harvey Cutter, John Saunders, and the rest of the gang here at the Salem Civic Center for our wonderful setup. Thank you for tuning in to these special Hoopsvilles. We'll see you Sunday night at 6 o'clock. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. A special thanks to the Old Dominion Athletic Conference for their assistance on this trip, and of course the simulcast on ODAC.TV. See you on Sunday, everybody.
The Old Dominion Athletic Conference would like to take this opportunity to thank the many organizations that have helped make this tournament so well received by players, coaches, and fans. First of the platinum sponsors of this year's tournament, Louis Gale Health System, Kroger, McHugh Companies, Virginia Farm Bureau, and Fast Side.